Om
हाँ।
Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Hari Om. Um, my first word is thank you. Gratitude, my childhood dream, a teenage desire when I heard about this from our music guru Rajagopala here about Sangeetha Ratnakaram. I told myself someday I'm going to study this. After all these years, Sangeetha Ratnakaram came to me in my house where I could learn, get a glimpse into it, sitting on the comfort of my sofa. I thank, thank you, Mahodaya, and I also thank Ash Seva Kendram for making this course, scheduling this course and making it available to us. Thank you. Um, I chose this section, the first section, Svaragatadhyaya, to present for in 10 minutes time. It is a major task because I don't understand all of it. The first time when you taught us, uh, most of it went over my head. It was a lot of new things and difficult to grasp. But then I decided this is the only way I will learn something about it, at least a little bit, by forcing myself, making a commitment to talk about it to others who likely know more than I do. So I hope I don't fall on my face. I still don't get all of it. I'm going to be honest with you, but I will speak about what little I learned, what is stuck in my head right now. I don't have a PowerPoint or anything. I'm just speaking from some notes I prepared, and if I can read my own writing, I'll be very pleased, really. Um, it is this Swaragata Adhyaya. I first try to understand what the word even means, and then since I'm not a scholar, Sanskrit scholar, I figured it means movement of swaras. So Sargadeva starts with uh, defining nada, the anahata nada. There's a primordial sound that becomes ahata nada that we can hear, something that is struck and we can hear, the human beings can hear. And then he described that nada, how it evolved into Giti. So from nada to Giti is covered in the first 8 sections of this first chapter of the Sangeetha Ratnakaram. So I believe that's the reason he named it Svaragatadhyaya. And the first section is called Padartha Sangraham, where he really pays homage to his Ishta Devata, Lord Shankara, who he says is the source of all music. Everything, all of music comes from him. And Sangeetam says it is the three Geetam, Vadyam, Nrityam. He includes all three: instrumental music, vocal music, and also dance. They comprise three components of Sangeetam. And he pays homage to Lord Shankara and all the acharyas and gurus, uh, his own gurus and all the acharyas that came before him, the seers, the sages, for to whom this Sangeetam was revealed, and the gurus who transmitted down to his level, up to his generation. He pays homage to them. That includes Bharata Muni and Matanga and Dattila and others. And he described it's like a glossary of all the terms, the concepts, category that will be used in this text, in this manual, in Sangeetam. Uh, and then in the second section, he describes nada here as the primordial sound, nad, nakaram, prananam, anandakaram, analam, viduhu, jataha, pranagni, samyogat, nado, vidiyate, nadam, anahata nadam, and is combines with agni to produce um, nadam. Okay, that's a definition. But then he described the second chapter is called Pindodpatti Prakarana. He talks about how the human body is an ideal, uh, most intimate musical instrument. Hatha yoga expert, and a musicologist, and also a musician. I'm sure he had all this. He has the Venas, and he had used them to determine various discoveries he made and evidence for what he is saying, experiment that he has conducted. With all of that comes throughout the book. And here um, he says, he described the human birth, human body from conception through all stages of embryonic development to the birth. And then he says, he associates nada, the music, how it comes is the energy contained in the base chakra, Muladhara, it rises through the Brahma Granthi. Then it has four sthanas, Nabi, Hrid, Kanta, and Murdha, and it emanates as music. And then we are all familiar with the Tyagaraja's Kriti, again, where he, Nada Tanu Manisham, where he pays homage to Lord Shankara as the source of music. And he says the music comes from Nabi, Hrid, Kanta, Nasalu, something like that. Therefore, it again, what you say, Ekam Sat Vipraha Bauda Vadanti, they're all saying the same thing. It is for us to understand and practice. And then he goes on to this to produce good music. This musical instrument has to be tuned. That means music is not just entertainment, it is born of the Vedas. It is a manifestation of Samaveda, and one has to listen with the meditative listening and sincere practice with the Shraddha, and also keep this instrument in good shape through various yama, niyamas, hatha yoga practice. So that is the Pindodpatti Prakarana. And then the third prakaranam is Nada Sthana Shruti Swara Jati Kula Rishi Chanda Rasa Prakaranam. The title says it all. Describe Nada, and then the sthanas that are in the human body, and then it is an octave is broken into segmented to 22 shrutis, which is unique to Indian music. In the Western is only 12 notes, whereas we have 22. That is perceptible and also pleasing to the ear. Of course, there's a lot more frequencies there, but the 22 are taken, and they are, and then the swaras are 7 swaras, and the 22 shrutis are distributed among the swaras. And then again, he also describes jati, and then they assign it just like the Veda mantras have Rishi, Devata associated with them, Chandas, how to pronounce, how to recite them. Under all of this, also these swaras have names, and therefore they're already divine and divinity associated with them. So he names Devatas, what the Rishis associated, all of that. And then fourth prakaranam, and the 22 shrutis are distributed among the 7 notes, Sarigama Padani. And then he describes Grama and Murchana and Krama on the 4th chapter. Grama is, he says, okay, let's see. I just wrote it down. Sajjagrama has 4. Anyway, there are that is Shadja and Madhyama and Panchama have 4 shrutis associated with them. The others are, I think I lost that page there. And where you can create slightly different patterns, whether you are based from the Panchama or Madhyama, and Shadja and Madhyama gramas are created that way. Gandhara grama is created based on Gandhara. It is apparently it has range a little bit wider, and is Narada is said to have said it's really meant for Gandharvas, heavenly realms. It's not for us. And Murchanas are these are all still collection of notes. One is not performing a grama anyway, but one is going to make a murchana out of the gramas. So you take one sa, one re among the four shrutis, one ga like that, and then you can make 7 notes from the Shadjagrama, and then uh, you can make 7 murchanas by taking all the 7 notes, pulling one out from each of the assigned to the 7 notes. And that way you can make 7 murchanas, Arohi and Arohi pattern from the Gandhara, from the Madhyama Grama. So altogether you can make 14 murchanas, and there are 4 types apparently, and then together you can make 56 murchanas. Again, this is quite complicated for me to, I thought I understood, but it's difficult for me to explain in a very short time. But again, he associates Rishi and Rasa and Devata and all of that. Then he goes on to evolution of this. Sadharana Prakarana, that is next section is Sadharana Prakarana, which is followed by Varna Prakarana, Jati, and finally Geeti, where he comes to a song with both swarams and pada lyrics. And Sadharana Prakarana, he talks about overlapping because these are not completely fixed. Even this, when music is produced, it is not strictly stuck to one particular frequency. These are microtones, and they can go and touch their neighbor. So there can be a overlap of um, melodic pattern derived from the murchanas, which are called jatis, and they can overlap one from the sadharana prakarana, from Shajja Grama can overlap with something derived from the Madhyama Grama, and these are called overlapping or shading. I'm sorry, I'm not explaining it very well. I thought I understood. I don't know how to describe it. And then Varna Prakarana talks about embellishment, Alankara, how to make them add to it. And Jati is again very defined melodic patterns. They are derived from these murchanas, but these are stylized melodic patterns, and they cannot be, you don't do any manodharma, you stick to that particular melodic pattern. And that is when it occurred to me that Tevara punts, which were finally compiled by 11th century, and they were starting to sing them in temples, and the Oduvar sang them only in the specific patterns. Until now, any one song, any Thevaram sung in some temple, usually they all sang in the same way. Even if in another temple, they will sing that Thevaram in the same manner. Only now, I think they are using popular melodies just for people like to hear popular melodies and popular raga, so they are changing. That's what I learned from an interview I watched from an Odubar. So Jati might be, because this book was written in 13th century. I think Jati is this Tevara Pant, Tamil punts are might be equivalent to Jati, I think. And then we finally come to Geeti Prakarana. And right in Jati, he talks about Vadi, Samvadi, Anuvadi, and Vivadi swaras that are dominant in a Jati or prominent. And then they are like a king, and then somebody is more like next to the king, like a minister, next secondary dominant. Anuvadi is that goes along with the secondary dominant. And Vivadi is a dissonant note that is not used often except by experts, real expert who can handle it. But this concept in Jati, Vadi, Samvadi, Anuvadi, Vivadi, this is used in North Indian classical music more than we have. And they also, I forgot to mention tanas in an earlier prakaranam, and there are more than 2 lakh sthanas that are mathematically possible that he lists, Sharngadeva lists, because he's able to do this permutations, mathematical, using a technique called Meru Khanda, how we are breaking up. And that's a mathematical technique. And out of, anyway, currently, I think it is used in the Hindustani music. I learned that and some indoor Gharana musician took a select 168 tanas to practice 20 in 7 groups. Each is 24 kind of tans within each group. And the Hindustani musicians use it for their morning, what they call riyas, their practice. So it still persists. A lot of these elements listed in Sangeetha Ratnakaram, what he called Deshi, that were prevalent at that time, what he called Marga, that was long before his time. And some of them are still practiced more rigorously, I think, in Hindustani music. And for us, the remnants are, I think, in the Tirupugal Chandas, and in the Tirupugal also, what is called in the Geeti Prakaranam, like Kambalagana, Kapalagana, and some of the things in Tirupugal are remnant of the Kambalagam, remind me of the Kambalagana that are used usually for worship aggressive deities. And Arunagirinathar describe the battle scene for Muruga before he returns to Parani for Surasamharam, and he uses some of these strong syllables there. So I think Tripura has a lot of them. So these are all remnant, I think, still prevalent in Tamil Nadu at least. And this is all I can think. I have exceeded my time. Thank you. I learned a lot, but I did not express the things that I learned. Thank you.
Very nice, Mohoday.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Okay.
Next.
Namaskaram to all. The next is the second Adhyaya is Raga Viveka Adhyaya. I am not sure if I have caught all the things what Bhagini has explained, but I am just trying to say what I have grasped. If I am wrong, please correct me, Bhagini. I request you to correct me if I am wrong. So, Raga is a vast subject, and it is generally it is understood as emotion during the Natya Shastra's time. But it was Sharangadeva who put it in the form of the raga sense that we use today. Raga is Ranjayati raga. We say that something that is pleasing to the ear, and it has all the arohi, avrohi, all those characteristics, and it brings it also induces the moods and pleases the listener. So, and this Raga Viveka Adhyaya is something that Sharangadeva has tried to classify the ragas. This is the discernment of ragas. So, he has adopted the tenfold classification. So, and Nada by itself is a sound, but we call it as Nada Brahmam because in our context, in the Indian context, it is not just a sound or an art form, but it's a path to moksha. Whereas in the Western connotation, it remains as a pure art form and something that is something that is used to express oneself, express the feelings, inner feelings. But in the Indian context, it's a path to moksha. And here we see that among the 10 classifications, Grama Raga, Uparaga, Raga, Bhasha, Vibhashantara Bhasha, Vivekakyam, Prathamam Prakaranam. There are two Prakaranas in this Vivekadhyaya. First Prakarana deals with the classification, and second Prakarana elucidates the lakshanas of the ragas that have been classified in the first Prakarana. But thematically, we can classify it into 7 different categories like the Grama Raga Prakaranam, Deshi Raga Prakaranam, or Raga Lakshana Prakaranam, Raga Vibhajana Prakaranam, Raga Sambandha Prakaranam, Raga Utpatti Prakaranam, and Raga Rasa Rupa Prakaranam. Thematically, it could be classified like that. But Sharangadeva has the the classification in the first part and the lakshanas in the second part. So he says about the grama ragas. The grama ragas are that which have been derived from the Shadja grama and the Madhyama grama, basically, and they have a very strong attachment to the Gitis. They are they follow the Gitis, and the 10 the Grama Ragas are again divided into 5 types, and the Grama Ragas, then he talks about the Bhasha, Vibhasha, Antarbhasha, and then the Sadharani and all that. So he here in the Gita Grama Ragas, he talks about the 5 Gitis. Gitayaha Pancha Shuddha cha Bhinna Gaudi cha Vesara Sadharani iti. So Shuddha, there are 7 Shuddha varieties of Gitis. And Shuddha variety means avakra, that doesn't have any vakra swaras. It goes straight and it is very captivating. It lalita. It is very manoharam. It steals the heart and it's very charming, and has the straight notes. Then the bhinna. There are 5 bhinna ragas. So the bhinna is fine and curved notes. These classifications are upon the swaras, with the swara as basis, like what Janaki Bhagini said, the Gitis. So it's based upon the swaras. So based upon the swaras, we have this. These swaras are fine and curved, and also very sweet with gamakas, and very subtle. They have subtle gamakas. So that is the bhinna, and there are 5. So in the Gaudi classification, we have 3, and Gaudi means that was unbroken stay among the 3 registers, and it has a very deep articulation of the sound, like ohati. Ohati is saying how like that. So it is like a very deep sound, and it has the very strong unbroken stay among the 3 registers. Then we have the Vesara style, which has a very quick succession of notes. And then we have the Sadharani, which combines all the characteristics of the above 4, and that is called Sadharani. Then in the Uparaga categories, there are 8. The ragas listed here are Tilaka, Shaka, Saindava, Kokila Panchama, Reva Gupta, Bhavana Panchama, Naga Gandhara, Sri Raga, Bangala, Bhasa Madhyama. So they represent stylistic and regional variants apart from being a part of the Grama Raga. And then we have the Janaka Ragas, the parent Ragas, the Vasha Ragas, which are the derivatives, and the Vibhashas, which are the subdivisions or regional variants. And he talks about the 30 Grama Ragas and gives a list of the ragas as core Janaka ragas. He has explained about 15 core Janaka ragas, which are 4 from Brigadesi. So we have 19, and the bhashas are 96, vibhashas 20, antarbhasha 4, and structural raga types we have 4, and the mukhya ragas are 6. So he accounts for 145 ragas. So and also he talks about the ragas that were prevalent ahead of his time in the ancient that time from before his time, and also talks about adhuna prasiddhya ragas, the ragas that were um, um, predominant in during his time. And he talks about the in the second part he talks about the lakshanas for the ragas, and they are divided into 4 functional categories: raganga, bhashanga, kriyanga, and upanga. In the raganga we have all the popular ragas that are still in use now: madhyamadi, malavashri, varati, todi, bangala, bhairavi, gurjari, gauda, kolahala, and vasantaka. Almost all the ragas are known to us. So there are 13 ragas in this raganga ragas, and here I want to just put my thought on this subject, because we have the raganga raga scale, mela paddhati of Muthuswami Dikshitar. So raga anga means you can take it as a verbally. What it means is like the ragas that are classified according to the emotion. That's what I understand. So raganga means something that is classified upon the emotional content it has. And the bhashanga, he talks about the 9 bhashangas like Dombakri, no, sorry. So Dombakri, Savari. Savari could be the Saveri that we sing now, and Velavali, and Adi Kamodika. Kamodika and Kamodari. There we have also been familiar with the term Kamodari instead of Kamboji. Kamboji is also called as Kamodari. So it could be Adi Kamodika could be Kamboji. And Shuddha Varatika. Varatika is Varali, it could be, and Nagadvani and Prathama Manjari. So these are the bhashangas, that are the derivatives of the main ragas. Then we have the kriyangas. In the kriya, we have the Ramakri, Gauda Kri, and the Deva Kri. Rama Kriya, actually we have the one raga Sindhu Rama Kriya, Adikshtar Kruti, Deva Sadashiva. That reminds me of that raga Sindhu Rama Kriya, and also the Purvi Kalyani song of Muthuswami Dikshtar, Meenakshi Me Mudam Dehi. So that also he talks about it as Gamaka Kriya. So, and also the Deva Kriya, which we call as Shuddha Saviri now. It could be those ragas, but we are not very sure about these classifications. And also the Upanga ragas, he talks about the Upanga ragas like Kauntali, Dravidi, Saindavi, Upasthana Varatika, Hastaswara Varati, Pratapa Varatika, and there are 6 varieties of Varati and Turushka Todi, and so many ragas have been elucidated. Saurashtri, Dakshina Varati, and all that. Then he talks about the Gurjaris, 4 kind of Gurjaris. Then Malhari, Gauda Malhari. We have the raga Gauda Mallar. And Malhari could be that Mallari they play in the temple could have been something related to this. That's what I think about it. I don't know. And also these Uparagas could be the regional variants, because we have all the names of the regions here. Saindavi from Sindh, Dravidi from Dravida Desham, from the south. Then we have the Turushka Todi. Turushka is, we call it the Tulukka Madam Sulva. Tamil and the Tulukka and Sulva. They call it the Muslims as Turushka. So this Turushka Todi, I got a chance to listen to the Arabian music. We come across the Todi scale. A lot of Arabian music has this Todi scale, and it is very plain. Like there is a lot of Kampita Gamaka and such Gamakas we find in the Arabian music, and such things have knowingly or unknowingly, we have incorporated all those things into our Carnatic classical music. So it could be some contributions from those countries also. So the Turka Todi reminds me of that. And it's a very long subject, and it's not that easy to explain, and also my understanding is also very little. And he also talks about the Ala Rupaka, Alapti, the Akshiptika, and all that. So it explains about the Raga Alapana Paddhati, and also the way the Raga is systematically expanded. And there are a lot of things that have been told by Sarangadeva, and also lot of things taught by our beloved Guru. And this is something very little that I could grasp from this. And this is what I have understood. I'm just singing, was completing this thing with a song which has a Grahabedam aspect in it. Janaki Bhagini was telling about the Vadi, Samvadi, Vivadi, and Anuvadi, and also the Grahabedams. So it is a composition of my Guru, Sri Lalgudi sir, Tillana, in the Raga Shivaranjani. Tanadim tadim ta tam. Sorry. Tanadim tadim ta janudim tom tridim dirana tadirana. Tanadim tadim ta janudim tom tridim dirana tadirana. Tanadim tadim ta janudim tom tridim dirana tadirana. Tanadim tadim ta janudim tom tridim dirana dirana tam janutati tom janutati tam tanatadim tanatadim tanatanadim tadim ta janudim tom tridim dirana dirana tam janutadim tom janutadim tam janutadim tanatadim tanatanadim tadim ta janudim tom tridim tam tajam takajam tom tananadim tadim tanadim tadirana tam tadim takajam tom tananadim tadim tanadim tadirana tam tadim takajam tom tananadim tadim tanadim tadirana takatom to takadim dim jam takatam tam tam tadim takajam tom tananadim tadim takadim tadirana takatom tom dim takadim dim jam takatam tam tanadim tadim tajanudim tom tridim மானை தேடி வந்து தேனை உண்டு வள்ளி மானை மணந்த மயில் வாகனா மானை தேடி வந்து தேனை உண்டு வள்ளி மானை மணந்த மயில் வாகனா நானோ நீனை எண்ணி நாளும் ஏங்கி வாட நானோ நீனை எண்ணி நாளும் ஏங்கி வாட ஏனோ இன்னும் என் மேலிந்த பராமுகம் நானோ நீனை எண்ணி நாளும் ஏங்கி வாட ஏனோ இன்னும் என் மேலிருந்த பராமுகம் தீம் தனதிம் ததகஜம் தரி தீம் தகஜம் ததகணம் தரி பக தப சத கதி தகஜம் ததகணம் தரி பக தப சத ரி சததி தகஜம் ததகணம் தரி ரி சகரி பக தப சத ரி சகரி தகதளாங்குஜம் தகததீம் தோம் தசரி தசதீம் தனனனனனதி தகதளாங்குஜம் தகததீம் தோம் தசரி தசதீம் தனனனனனதி கபத சாரி காரி சதப கபரி ரி பத சரி ரே ரே சதப கரி சரி சரி கபத சாத பகரி கபத சாரி காரி சதப கபரி ரி பத சரி ரே ரே சதப கரி சரி சரி கபத சாத பகரி சக மதானி சானி மக சகனி சரி மபனி சாணி பமரி மசரி சரி கபத சாத பகரி சக மதானி சாணி மக சகனி சரி மபனி சாணி பமரி சரி கபத சாத பகரி சதனதீம் ததீம் தாஜணுதீம் தோம் திருதீம் திரனா திரனா தாம் ஜணுததீம் தோம் ஜணுததீம் தாம் தனததீம் தனததீம் தனததனதீம் ததீம் தாஜணுதீம் தோம் திருதீம். Thank you. Okay.
Very nice reading.
It's in the Mishra Shivaranjani Raga. And I'm sorry, I learned it just yesterday, so there could be some mistakes. But we can see the translation of the Graha Bedam. It is Gapada Sariga Gagari Sadapa Gapariga Saga Madani. The Ga is taken as Sa. We get the Sunada Vinodini. Then Rega Pada Sari Re Sadapa Gapari Rega Sari சரி மப நிசா சாரி பம சரி நிசா தென் சரி கபத சாத பகரி சாத பகரி சதனதீம் ததி goes like that. Then comes to Shivaranjani. So this is technique and aesthetics together put, and as you say that how much ever we talk about the raga, only if we sing and listen to the raga, it makes it complete. So that's all. Thank you so much. I thank the Asha Seva Kendra and Haripriya Bhagini for enlightening us into these things. And it kindles a lot of questions in my mind when I go through all these things, and hope to find the answers to these questions, because it's something that was there before and still there, but we are only not able to relate to those both. What those terms convey and what we sing today, we are not able to relate to it. between the theory and practical. So hope to find answers to those things. Thank you so much. Namaskaram. Sorry for extending time.
Very nice. Next, Rukmini Bhagini.
Okay. Namasarvebhyaha. I think it's a very hard act to follow. And actually, I took the Prabandha Adhyaya, which is actually explains the lakshanas of a song and the different kinds. And Radha Bhagini gave such a beautiful introduction, not just introduction, she just defined it for us. And, by the immortal composition of the ever fresh Lalgudi, there was none before him, there will never be one like him. So there was such a, it's not just an introduction, it encompassed everything in that. And they all said, this is a very this is a treatise. I mean, that was his lifetime's work, and I but for Haripriya Bhagini, I would have never even thought of looking at it. And so my gratitude to Arsha Seva Kendra and to her for taking on this such a big project. My really little mind could comprehend such a minimum, and they all say expressing even that little is even much less, a very small, tiny percentage of it. So with that, this is the Prabandha Adhyaya is the fourth Adhyaya in this treatise, and it deals with Gita Lakshana and Gita Beda, which is like the anatomy and classification, a very dry subject. What Radha presented beautifully, I'm trying to say in words. And then it explains what it is to a lay person, what a song should consist of, what it should consist of, and how these things are built. And so the chapter opens with a comment that Ranjakaha Swara Sandarbha Geetam iti uchyate. And she showed it. It's a very pleasing combination of swaras. That's called Geetam. Geetam it's not this drum splitting noise. It is a very harmonious, and so that is what is called Geetam. So it's a very fundamental definition of music. So this music for Sarngadeva was divided into, he divides it into, or the thinking in those days, it's into Gandharva and Gana. These are two types of music. And the Gandharva type is Anadi, meaning it's really prehistorical. It's derived from divine sources. And he says these are practiced by Gandharvas or celestial beings in a garden setting. And the main purpose of this music is spiritual uplifting. Whereas Ghana, the second type, is created by Vageyakaras, people who have been blessed with the ability to write words that have a meaning, and then set it to music so that we hear this pleasing combination, just like what we heard just now. So these are based on ragas and for public enjoyment. And so this is also based on popular and regional taste. So that allows for that explains the regional variation in the music that we see, even though we say it's Carnatic music or it is Hindustani music, there is a lot of difference, but fundamentally they are the same. So, I mean, that's what he's referring to. And then, so he described the Gandharva music as the Marga. It is also defining it. One of the other commentators talks about the Gandharva music being the Marga music, or meaning the very traditional music, and then the Gana as the Deshi, which is more folk
folk kind of a music. Okay, so these terms are, I think, kind of going out of style or out of usage, not style. The concepts are there, and they think that, but the terms are not being used. And then the next way he describes it, that he said there are nibaddha music, and then let me just say here, and the Anibadda music. The Nibadda music it has no rhythmic constraints. Again, maybe this might be the very early description of alapana, where you don't have to be restrained by specific beats or the laya cycle, etc., etc. So Nibaddha music, of course, it is a specific structural components, both in terms of the lyrics and combined with thala. So the Nibaddha music, again, there are three components in the Prabandha, Vastu, and Rupakam. Rupakam is the emotive component or the bhava, and then the Prabandha is the dramatic component, and the Vastu is the substratum of all these things. And these are also described as alapti. So the basic components of the Nibaddha music are called dhatus. Again, Haripriya Bhagini explained it, because of the, the class starts at 5:30 in the morning. I'm barely awake, but anyway, and it's again, it's a very complicated subject, and this is the way I have understood it. So the structural elements are called dhatus. And then I think this is applicable to both the melody part of it, or what we might call as the raga today, and also the sahitya, the lyrical component, because a skillful vagayakara uses the concept of these dhatus for everything. As initially you state something in the text, and then same way you also introduce the raga at the very first line. So, and then as the song progresses, there is an exploration of the raga as well as an expansion of the initial concept of what he said in the first, or the Bhagayakara said in the first line. So the four dhatus are the structural stages. So it's a logical progression of the song from start to finish. While a complete song has four parts, many of them may just have two or three. So the first part is called Udgrahaka. It is the introduction. This is the opening section. This is the prelude. So it is like the first line, first verse of the song. So it introduces the melodic scale, it introduces the raga, and it also sets the tone, the lyrical tone. It tells you in introduction, the very first line. And then Melapaka, it is like the bridge. It connects the first line, introduction, to what's going to come as the expansion of the concept of both the raga and as well as the lyrical component. So sometimes this might be omitted. I think Bhagini gave the example of the Chintamani song by Shama Sastri for this, Devi Brova for this, and then the Dhruva, which is the refrain or the core. This is the heart of the song. This is center, and then this is the most important concept, and then the Abhoga, which is the conclusion. This is the final verse. Again, the composition comes to an end both in the portion of the lyric as well as in the portion of the raga. When a song is sung, completed, in your mind, in your heart, in your feelings, you have a sense of completion. you understood that the composer said something and the musician conveyed it to you and you understood it. That is, the whole cycle is completed. And then between this, while these dhatus are if can be considered as the skeleton of the song, and there are 6 angas, or which are like the limbs of them. So, and they are, just give me a second. See, the swara component, which is, again, without the swara, you cannot sing a song. I think Jana explained it well, that, how the swara starts. But see, that is the very basic, the nadam, on which the lyrics are superimposed. So the swara component is the basic, the syllables, like what we call as the solfa notes, or the sarigama padanisa, and then the pada. Next sanga is the pada. This is the lyrical, actual text or the poetry or the words of the song. And this is the one that gives you the literal text, tells you the words that convey the bhava. But it is up to the musician, the way the Gavagayakara has set the music, and up to the musician to display it on the spatial scale for us to grasp, understand, and appreciate. And then next is the biruda, the epithets or the title. These are the honor, the words of praise that that usually most of our music is in praise of a deity. And so the title that are conferred upon the deity. And then you have the Tenaka, or the sacred, I'll say it in the very end. Then next comes the Tala, or the rhythm, where this is, remember, this is the song that is Nibaddha music. So there is a time signature to these things. So that is what the Tala is. And then Pata is the percussive symbols. This is for the accompaniments, like, ta, kita, that kind of notes that will either come in the song in the form of a jati, or it'll be provided by the tala accompaniments. And then tenaka, it was hard for me to understand what it was actually, but she described it as the sacred symbols derived from the Shruti or the Vedas, I forget what she said, Om Tat Sad, or not Aham Brahmasmi, but other things like that, that are supposed to be again the basic component, or those is the undercurrent of all this, our music, actually. And then, so these are Tattvamasi. Tattvam, how can I forget? After listening to Tyagaraja's song, Tattvamasi and Vakya, how can I forget that? But anyway, I did. So those, thou art that. That is the fundamental of all our music. So it is considered that the pada and tena are the 2 eyes, the tala and pata are the gati hetus, that are the one that take the music onwards. So depending upon the dhatus present in the composition, 5 types of compositions are described as Medini, where it has all the 7 angas, then Anandini in the decreasing fashion, Anandini, Deepani, Bhavani, and Taravali. The Taravali, just 2 of them are present. So meaning these are, increasing or decreasing order of complexity are all described. And then the next type of classification is again based on the content or the theme of the song. Niti, Sena, Kavita, or Champu. The Champu is actually a mixed prose and poetry. Then we learned some of these things when we learned something about kavyas. So these mainly are related to the lyrical component of the song. Shruti is the basis for Medini. So the Niti is based on 5 things she mentioned, or he mentioned, and she explained, Haripriya Bhagini explained to us, like the initiative, manpower, time and space, appropriation, prevention of calamity, and fulfillment of the object. This is how it's described, a project, a description. Similarly for Sena, they use the description of a namik. For Kavita, it is the bhavani, is the talent and expression, proficiency in practice. Again, these things are mentioned so that to remind us to understand the discipline that underlies any of the thing that we undertake. See, you have to have a talent, and you have to pay attention to the expression, and put in the practice to get the proficiency to be able to present. The compositions are also classified on the basis of their meter or rhythmic patterns, and so they were like niyukta and aniryukta, and then multiple prabhedas are described on this fashion. Again, I think in the interest of time, I should probably skip those. And then there's also description of the Vilamba and Dhruva component. So these are all the precursors of a Madhyama Kala Sahitya, Vilamba Kala Sahitya, etc. And then the next section on this Adhyaya discusses the Chanda Sastra, Varna Ganas and Matra Ganas, and with a great emphasis on the association of these ganas to deities or cosmic forces. It is felt that it was the ucharana, or the inclusion of these in the compositions will actually produce material effects. And then the section further moves on to the setting of the composition within the rhythmic structure, like describing the timing of the beginning of the song in relation to the tala and the varieties. How you can start at the beginning of the tala, and you can start the song before the tala, after the tala, and all this. And then it describes now Uttama Gita that is the one that is consistent with the law, based on the authority of Shastra and the niyatis, the dharmas that are accepted concepts. It has to be fresh, non-repetitive, without breaking this sequence, with a clear meaning and purpose, ornamentation in just the right amount, and a balanced and nuanced blend of raga, thala, and laya. And the last component is also, it's on the phonetics, musicology, and then the theology. These descriptive qualities of the sound, the Gayaka is expected to cultivate. Like, again, it should be a balanced, sweet, intense, charming, radiant, steady, refined, clear and strong, and alignment to Shruti and Tala, and the maintenance of the tempo. Actually, he's giving you all the things that one is supposed to be following as somebody sings. So it starts with the description of the song, and to end with how it should be sung. So it was an all encompassing, and for all these components, I probably have made numerous mistakes because my own deficits in understanding. And anyway, I hope Bagri will forgive those. And I think it's really time. So thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to learn and crystallize in my own mind. Thank you very much.
Nice, baby. Jayakumar Mahodaya, would you like to speak now, or it's already 7, so.
Yeah. So am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I sent a note to my this one attendant caregiver who's taking care of father, and I said it's all right if I'm a bit late. She said okay. So that means maybe we can stretch it a little bit here. And if you all can finish soon, then we can. I don't know what I'm going to say, but we can continue again.
Hema Bhagini, next is yours.
Namaste, Guruji. Namaste, Haripriya Mahodaya. So, I am here to talk about the Talavadya Adhyaya. That is the about the instruments, musical instruments. So anyway, before I start, I just wanted to. Sharngadeva calls himself a Sodala Sunu, Suri Sharngi, Sri Karanagrani, like, with such names he calls himself. I mean, I found it interesting, so I thought before I forget that I'll share that. Anyway, he starts with the shloka, which is like an invocation to his favorite god, Lord Shiva, and also it describes the instruments. So, tatam yena vanadham cha bhuvanam nijamayaya ananda ghanamadhye tam brahma sushire haram chitravacha pravartante dhatu vritti vichitritaha yatastam naumi vistara tattva ghanugatam shivam. So this shloka serves as Mangalacharana as well as the Vastu Nirdesha. So he prays to the Lord. All those words are adjectives, tatam, ghanam, all that, are adjectives to Lord Shiva. And they also talk about the various instruments. So the tatam, is the tatam is that a stringed instrument. Avanadam is the bound or covered instrument like mridangam. Then Sushiram is the flute and other things. And then you have the ghana, the metallic cymbals and that ganji, this thing. So that is how he brings about. And also there is a hint of Sankhya philosophy by using the word mahad there. So then he goes on to say, Geetam chaturvida jayate uparajyate miyate cha purvabhyam shrutyadi dvaratah bhavet tato avanadhena rajyate miyate ghanat. So he says how music is produced. So by plucking the strings or blowing breath through the holes, music is produced. And from the other two, Avanadham and the Ghana, it is through striking, he says. Okay, then he talks about the Shruti Veena and also the Swara Veena. So, since due to paucity of time, I'm trying to skip many of my notes. I had made lots of notes. Anyway, he talks about the different types of Veenas, Ekatantri, Nakula, Tritantrika, Chitraveena, Vipanchi, and all that. Of course, it is interesting to note that, Soundarya Acharya talks about the Vipanchi as the Saraswati's Veena. And then the Mattakokila Veena is there. It is intoxicated cuckoo. The meaning is so named because of its sweet tone. And Kinnari, Pinaki, and Nishanka Veena, etc. So then in the this thing of this chapter, he runs through all the different tala vadyas. So then he talks about the flute types: Vamshaha, Pavakaha, Pavika, cha Murali, Madhukaryapi, Kahala, Tundakinya, Ucha, Chukka, Shangamatah Param, Shankadayascha Vadyasya, Sushirasya Bhidamataha. So different varieties of the Sushira vadyas. Bamboo flute, regional flute types, Murali, Madhukari, and all that, different. Then he goes on to talk about the Pataha for Avanadha. Pataho Mardalascha, Hudukka, Karata, Gataha, Gadaso, Davaso, Dakka, Kudukka, Kudua, Tata, Runja, Damaruko, Dakka, Mandi Dakka, Chadakkuli, Seluka, Jallari, Banastristavali, Dundubistata. Bheri, Nissanu, Tumbakyo, Vedaha, Sur Anabaddaha. So the way different types of Anabadda. Since I'm not going to, time is not there to explain, so I'm just reading of the shlokas. Glad that I wrote down the shlokas. Then he talks of the Ghanavadyas. So Thalota Kamsya Talaha Syad Ghanta Cha Shudra Gantika जयघण्टा च ततः क्रमा शुक्तिपट्टायस्तथा प्रभेदा गणवादाल्य प्रोक्ताः सोडलसूनुना. That is where he calls himself as Sodalasunu, son of Sodala. So cymbals and bronze plates, large and small bells, victory bells these are all the Gana Vadyas. So, and also a further classification is made depending on the musical dependence of Nritta and Natya. Sushkam, Geetanagam, Nrittanagam, Dvayanagam. So those played alone without song or dance, like drums, then accompanying a song, Geetanagam, accompanying a dance, Nrittanagam, and Dvayanagam, accompanying both. So it is said that Shiva created these instruments together with Nandi, Swati, Tumburu, and Narada to relieve his agitation and restore calm after the destruction of Daksha's Yajna. So, and then the author goes on to describe the occasions when the instruments are played and the effect thereof. He calls them Utsahakarani, energizers, and Mangalya, auspicious. Okay. Then in every instrument, the author's pattern is the same. First, he talks about the instrument, then how the instrument is constructed, how it is played, and then what are the defects, and what are the gunas, and what are the defects. And he also talks about the players, Vadakas, gunas and defects. I mean, for him also certain qualities are, prescribed. So this is the pattern in covering all the four types of instruments. That is how it goes. So he says, Vadyan yatastadadini tatrado brumahe vayam tasya vadana bedamsha vividaha karasaranaha. Vadana bedaha and karasaranaha, the hand, how the hands are positioned and everything, all this are explained. So this is for all the four types of vadyas. Okay. Then he goes on to describe the construction of the tatavadya, that is the stringed instrument veena, about what type of wood is used, and the thickness, the curvature, the symbolic tortoise-like elevation, ensuring both functional strength and aesthetic harmony. The wood is used is normally red sandalwood or kadija, but modern version uses the jackfruit. And the resonator also is carved out of jackfruit log. But earlier, what he describes is the coconut shell. So, and he explains how the gourd resonator, holes, strings, and coconut shell plate are integrated, ensuring both acoustic resonance and structural balance. We also need, when the veena is balanced, this thing, it needs another small this thing, to rest on the lap. So like that. And he goes on to say the veena is just not music. It is darshana, vision. It is sparsha, touch, and moksha, liberation. Darsana sparshane chasya bhoga swarga pavargade. So, and also he says the various parts of the veena are verily the various gods like Shiva, Parvati, Vishnu, Lakshmi, Brahma, Saraswati, Vasiki, moon, and the sun. So then the various techniques are explained. Charana, the glides and oscillations. And, of all the four instruments, I don't know about the three. I play a little of the veena. At least I own a veena. So I am a little partial to that. At least some of the words I'm familiar with. So Sarana, the glides and oscillation, the Vyapara, the right hand plucking strokes. And also the posture of the instrument, finger techniques, glides and oscillations, and the right hand plucking strokes. The two types of saranas and 9 types of vyaparas are described, and further 3 more karanas or strokes are described. Thus, total of 24 karanas are named. And then the veena's frets and finger spans are mapped systematically, creating a geometric progression of the note placement, ensuring consistency across the registers. So other types are all derivatives of this, and Matta Kokila stands out as a grand ornamental veena, symbolizing the peak of instrumental elaboration in medieval musicology. then he talks about the sound producing element that give the vitality and beauty to veena playing. They arise from the specific strokes on the string. So vistara karana avidya vyanjanascheti dhatavaha. And then he talks about yati, giti, and vadyam. The yati, the samayati, srotovahayati, gopuchayati, and also of the atita, anagata, and samagraha. Rukmini Bhagini earlier spoke about that. She mentioned that. Once again. Okay. So together they form the systematic framework for performance linking rhythm, song, and instrumental techniques. So finally, the message is sent out loud and clear that instrumental music must be bound to tala, otherwise it degenerates into a meaningless sound. So the tala aspect. And he mentions a brief mention of Raga Gujjari is done by him. So he talks about an ideal veena player. I'm not going to explain in English. I'll just read out the shloka. Nada Shruti Swara Grama Jati Ragadi Tatvavit Deha Saushtava Sampannaha Stirasana Parigraha Jitashrama Karadvanadvastya त्यक्त भीतिर्जितेन्द्रियः प्रगल्भधीः सुशारीरो गीतवादनककोविदः सावधानमनाश्चेति वैणिके वर्णिता गुणाः. So these are all the gunas he expects of the Veena Vadaka. So then the ancient era, we have just to sum up, we have the Rudra Veena, Saraswati Veena, Vipanchi, Chitra Veena. Medieval period, we have the Kinnari, Tanpura, Ekatara, Ravanahata, Yal. Mughal era, we have the Sitar, Sarod, Surbar, Sarangi, Dilruba, etc. And modern era, we have the Santur, Dotara, Tumbi, Mayuri Veena, Bulbul Tarang, etc. And Tanpura, of course, we all know is the essential drone in the classical music. And also Ananda Lahari is the folk drone lute. Then he talks about the Sushira Vadyas, the Vamsha flute. Sushira Vadya, the Murali, Pava, Pavika, Madhukari are all the variations. The material, and as in the same pattern, he describes what are the material used, how it is constructed, and all that, bamboo and other precious substances. Then he talks about the structure, cylindrical structure of the flute, smooth, proportionate, and holes, one mouth hole plus 7 finger holes plus 1 auxiliary hole. And the sound, it allows full swara articulation and resonance. So starting from the mouth hole to the first finger hole, he says one can increase the flute's length by 1 angula at a time, producing different types. But the ideal one is the 14 angula long. The 13 or 15, 17 are unsuitable because of the spacing produces unclear tonal intervals. So he talks about the ideal length and all that. And he also says the longer flutes have deeper tones, mandrasthai, medium flutes have the middle register, and the short flutes have a high register, the tarasthai. The whole opening sequences, how producing 7 notes. He says, talks of the positioning of the flute, like of the veena also. Here also he says, Ardendu Nagapanavat Sthapyam Karadvayam. So both the hands are used. So left hand producing this Arega and the right hand producing Mapa Dani. With such precision, he documents the finger placement and note production. And on the register control, he says close mouth contact gives Tarastha Mukha Samyoga Sankate Mukarandrake. That is, close mouth contact produces the high octave. Normal blowing brings out the middle octave. Surakshitena rachitat futkarat madhya saptake, and loose mouth contact, low octave, randrasya mukha samyoga viprakarshattu mandragaha. So how the various octaves are being produced by just adjusting the mouth, the blowing type. Then he talks about the gatis, kampita, valita, mukta, ardhamukta, repeatita, to describe the vibration, sliding for melodic flow, release for tonal quality, pressing for emphasis, etc. So, the canonical 14 angular flute is the special bridging all registers. Then alternate measurement systems and Yaba units are all mentioned. Anyway, I'm just running through that because paucity of time. And again, he lists 12 qualities of the playing, that snigdata, ghanata, raktir, vyaktihi, prachurata, dhvanehe, lalityam, komalatvam cha, nadanuranam tata, त्रिस्थानत्वं, श्रावकत्वं, माधुर्यं, सावधानता, द्वादशेति गुणाः प्रोक्ताः कूत्कारे Suri Sharangina. There he calls himself as Suri Sharangi. That is why I chose this shloka, because his name is mentioned. And he also lists 9 defects like Kampita, Kaki, Tumbaki, Sandashta, Avyavastha, etc. So, thus giving a chart qualities to and to the defects to avoid. The discipline, he also talks about the disciplinary flaws, faults, like wrong usage, inability to land on correct notes, distracting bodily movements, etc. These are all very important aspects to this thing. So overall, a great flautist is not only technically skilled but precise in note placement, agile in execution, supportive of singers, capable of masking imperfections. So, thus presenting a holistic picture of artistry, technical mastery, and aesthetic sensitivity and collaborative skill. And talks about the proper flute ensemble, like with one principal flautist with 4 flautists, the other such things. There are so many these things explained. Anyway, and then I'll just go to how then I will go to the next section, the Pataha, the how the Pataha is placed. The पद्मासनोपविष्टेन गोष्ठ्यामूरुद्वयोरपि संस्थाप्य मार्गपटहो वाद्यो वर्णोद्भवे पटुः नाटके तु अर्धवक्त्रोऽयं वाद्यते घटवद्यवत् कोणेन पाणिना वास्य वादनं सूरयोः विदुः इति पटः लक्षणं. So here he talks about the 5 sets of syllables, which are emerging out of the 5 faces of Shiva. Nagabandha is from Sadyojatam, Swastika from Vamadevam, Alagna from Aghoram, Shuddhi from Tatpurusham, and Samaskalita from Ishana. So, thus this Pataha playing becomes a sacred art aligning rhythm with theology. And these 5 strokes, which we just spoke about, have each 7 substrokes. So, thus making it to 7 into 5, 35 hastapatas. So, their further classification are also dealt with subsequently. And then the later derivations from the Mridanga, Mardala, the Muraja, the sacred drum, Nandikeshwara, we have the Pataha, Hudukka, Pakwaj, Mridangam, and then tabla, and so many other things. So here also he talks about what are the materials used, that red sandalwood or kadira, and hide covering comes from the calf, thick and strong, enduring durability. He talks about 4 types of percussionists: Vadaka, a composer; Mukhari, Pratimukhari, accompanist; Geetanuga, song followers. So each has a distinct skill, but all share the goal of supporting melody and dance with rhythmic intelligence and sensitivity. So he says Patavadaka is a technician as well as an artist who combines clarity, grace, rhythmic intelligence, and emotional depth, and lending a musical companionship to the vocalist. Then he talks about the hudukka, karata, ghata, gadasa, Dhavasa, Dhakka, Kudukka, Kuduva, Dhamaruka, etc. And we all know Dhritavasane, Nataraja Rajo, Nanada Dakkam, Napapanchavaram. So the Dakka I spoke about. Now we come to the Ghanavadyam. They are all the solid instrument. They are the Tala, Kamsya Tala, bronze cymbals associated with Narada, Ghanta, bronze temple bells, Shudra Ghantika, the tiny bronze bells made of two shells with a seed-like ball inside. They are strung together and produce jingling sounds known as Gharghara and Marmara, primarily used by dancers, adding rhythmic sparkle and ornamentation. நம்ம கால்ல கட்டிக்கிற சலங்கை. And Jayaganta, a bronze victory bell. Then again, as usually, talks about a few more and lists the gunas and doshas of the instruments. And then a true Vadyaka must be not only technically skilled, but also musically literate, rhythmically precise, contextually aware, and aesthetically composed. And absence of all this are the defects, he says. So, summing up, he says that the hands themselves are the instruments, because when you play the instruments, between the Vadaka, the instrument, the hands are the ones that are performing them. So their firmness, clarity, agility, and endurance directly determine the quality of playing. He describes them in the shloka. I mean, this applies for all the instruments. Vanchanagau dhrudau vyaktau snigdhau dhruda nakhau laghu vidyanguli sancharo swedahinau jitashramau sukta cha karau proktau dashagunaviti iti hastagunaha. So that is how we ends, about the quality of the hand, because they determine the quality of the hand or the finger. They determine the quality of the music that comes out of it. So, I mean, of all the chapters, this is more of I think, the easiest chapter to talk about. But of course, I had to miss a lot of things because of the time paucity. But and then some of the slokas were more interesting, so I thought I will rather read out the sloka than going into the details. That makes it faster. The Sanskrit is very concise and precise. Whereas I would use more words in English. This is so easy to read out. So that made my job easy. I may not have done a great job, but I did whatever I could do to the best of my ability. Thank you. Dhanyavadaha.
Very nice. Sumitra Mahoday.
Sadgurubhyo Namaha. My pranams to Jay Kumar ji and Haripriya Bhagini, and to all the elders, of course. My pranams to all of you. So I am supposed to do 2 adhyayas. One is like the last mint upma of a hotel those days. So if the menu is out, then they will make some upma, but I assure you that the spice will be all right, salt will be all right, and the vendified position will also be perfect. So quick run-through on Taladhyaya. Again, Sharangadeva, being a devotee of Lord Shiva, starts with a nice shloka on saying how the eternal source of rhythm and time is being managed by Lord Shiva, and he says his pranams to him through the shloka. And he goes on defining definition of tala, functions of tala, kriyas like sashabda kriya, nishabda kriya. I remember my guru also scolding me for putting the numberings of the tala as sashabda, and got scolded. So this makes more sense to me now. And he of course explains the kriya of sashabda as well as nishabda also. Then for all of that, we have got sashabda kriya of margatala, where the types, how he classifies and all of that has been mentioned. So at the end, the Marga Prakarana, where you have got 4 Margas, Dhruva Marga, Chitra Marga, Vartika, and Dakshina Marga, he says about how many cycles or matrika are to be taken care of is being mentioned here. If you actually see, the Marga Tala system is just not like a random calculation or rhythm theory, but it is deeply rooted in ritual devotion and philosophy. So thereby rhythm, song, and worship, we understand it is inseparable in this case. Moving on to the next prakarana, which is the Deshi Prakarana, Deshi Tala Prakarana. he mentions 5 basic talas and some advanced talas like Simhananda and Tribhangi. Again, the kriyas are all mentioned, the units, the matrikas, all of that he deals with. So this is about Taladhyaya. I'm really cutting it short because I know it's been really long. So moving on to my favorite chapter, Nartana Adhyaya, being a dancer. I can keep on talking, like 4 hours straight also I can talk, but I'll ensure that I'll really cut it short. Again, he starts with a prayer, which even today we use it as our prayer in the dance class. Angikam bhuvanam yasya vachikam sarva vangmayam aharyam chandra taradi tam numah satvikam shivam. Thereby explaining the dance is not a mere physical movement. Just like how you say, hey, come, hey, go. It's not like that. Not a mere physical movement, but it is a cosmic act of expression. How? It is through Angika, Vachika, Aharya, and the Satvika, which is very important Abhinaya. Only if the Satvika Abhinaya is understood by any artist, not just for dance, but also for music. Rest of the Abhinayas, whatever Aharya you do, you put glorious, very nice makeup, nice ornaments and jewelries. If the Sattva is not there in performance, it's like a robo communicating a text simply. Unless the bhava is not there, the rasa cannot be felt. So here in the shloka, he says how Shiva himself, it's a leela of Shiva after all. Whatever is happening, it's leela of Shiva, isn't it? So thus the dancer becomes, like an instrument or a vessel of universal rhythm and emotion. We can be said that microcosmic level of the cosmic dance. And then Sharangadavya again says how it expresses, it is very helpful in liberating oneself. Because Nidra and any form of art, traditional art form, I'm not talking about the modern art forms, they are Brahmananda Sahodara. When you have a fracture or an ailment and you sleep, you forget everything, which can be equated to Brahmananda, that bliss. Similarly, whatever may be your mental mood or state, you might be of utmost pressure or having some kind of tension in your mind. When you see a good dance or when you hear a good music, you will forget everything. So it can be equated to Brahmananda Sahodara. This has been very well clarified by Abhinava Gupta also in his Abhinava Bharati. And Sharangadeva faithfully follows Bharata and Abhinava Bharati also adds here and there his own thoughts. Because, as we evolve, I cannot be sticking on to the earlier days alone. If I have to show you a doctor how he performs a surgery, I should be qualified enough to do it within the framework with the hastas mentioned. It is still doable. My Guru Dr. Padma Subramaniam has done it. It is there in YouTube. You can check it out. Very nice how a doctor performs heart surgery. And finally, she sees, okay, your heart rhythm. She uses Suchi Hasta to say, your rhythm is all fine. Get up. You're fine now. You can go now, she says. So again, he explains that also as time evolves, you should be able to go with that too. Then he goes on explaining about Tandava and Lasya. Tandava and Lasya are much later terms. Uddhata Prayoga and Sukumara Prayoga is what typically Bharata has mentioned. Say if I want to do one Karana, which comes like that, I can do it as Tandava, like 1, 2, 3, 4, or I can do 1, 2, 3, 4, which becomes Lasya. So, see, he explains how Bharata, along with Gandharvas and Apsaras, performed before Shiva, the Nritya, Natya, and Nritta. All 3 types he defines in the first 10 of the shlokas itself. And Hara recollects his own Tandava, which he does in Sandhya Kala, and directs the chief of his attendants, Tandu, to demonstrate it to Bharata. And Parvati, out of her own love and Preeti, shows how a Lasya would be. Of course, in Natya Shastra, it's a little different, where he says, Shiva says, you go see the Kaishiki Vritti of Vishnu, from where you can get the Lasya portion of it. Also, Parvati shows it later, that's a different thing. So, he basically defines vigor and graceful way of dance. Both of them were revealed. And then together, they are like complementary poles. This stays true even after so many days, so many years, so many yugas, I would say. Because in Natya Shastra, if you read the initial chapter 1, he clearly says, in the transit of Satya Yuga and Treta Yuga, because of vulgar sentiments, Indra, along with all the asuras and everybody, goes to Brahma saying that, see, we want something very nice, but it should be of educative too. So, edutainment we can call. Education plus entertainment has to be there. So from that period of time till date, the modes have not changed. The human modes are not changed. The vibhava, anubhava, vyabhichari bhava has not changed. The sthayi bhava has not changed. You take any movie of these days, still you can compare it very well with the Natya Shastra or the Sharangadeva, whatever moods or states that he mentions. So Natya is a spiritual discipline basically, and not a mere entertainment, thereby promoting virtues, a refinement of human beings, thereby forgetting our sufferings and despair, so that we can enjoy the Brahmananda, which is the pleasure, and all of that. So the Natya and Nritta, quickly to say, Nritta is pure dance. So whatever the Shushkaksharas that they have mentioned, you can perform Nritta for that. Natya is purely dramatic elements where you have different types of rupakas, different types of natakas itself. And Nritya is something which is a combination of Nritta and Abhinaya. So when these has to be performed, he again gives in shloka like ritual prescriptions uh, and various other spiritually sanctioned occasions. Sharangadeva also mentions that, like festival days, seasonal celebrations, or king's coronation, any royal functions, entry into new cities. So always our Sanatana Dharma takes music, dance, or Sangeeta. Geetam, Sangeetam, Vadhyam, Trayam, Sangeetam Uchyate, right? So this has been a major portion. I recently happened to read one of the Agama, Shaiva Agama manuscript, Amshumad Agama, where he clearly mentions all the three again in one of the chapters. So then I thought maybe we like live together with dance music and everything, so that the rhythm of our life becomes so colorful. So he again talks about Natya and Rasa Nishpatti. I'm not getting into the details. We also clearly see how um, Haripriya Bhagini's terms, I will use it here. The significance of the shift from very restricted way of dancing or restricted way of performing the art forms has come to social and ritual function also. There are three main stages or triad, we could say, which are Vibhava, Anubhava, and Vyabhichari Bhava, the determinant, consequent, and the transitory state. Again, I'm not getting into the details. All the three together only will give the proper rasa nishpatti. Even if you add salt more in your food, and everything else being perfect, you still cannot enjoy. If the spice is more, salt is good, and everything else is good, you still cannot enjoy the food. We always keep talking about the food because whether you know dance or not, whether you know music or not, the moment someone relates to food, you can immediately connect yourself. You would have definitely consumed a food which is less of spice or more of spice, less of salt or more of salt, and then said, I didn't enjoy the food, but I consumed. This was, yeah, of course, said by Dr. Shatavadani, Dr. R. Ganesh. So it's always good to connect everything with food so that we can obviously relate it easily. And again, Abhinaya is of four kinds: Angika, Vachika, Aharya, Satvika. Angika is through body, for which he gives Anga, Upanga, Pratyanga. We call it Anga Vyayama. Rather than seeing these just as gestures, these are almost like body conditioning elements for a dancer. If you stand still like this, like a robo, and try to express something, say Krishna, ni begane baro, it will not be communicated unless you use the Mukaja, Sharira, sometimes Aharya. Like you have to show Rama, you either use bow and arrow or use the Hasta, Shikara and Kataka or paint yourself to the turquoise color or Rama's green color so that one can understand. That falls under Aharya. And Vachika, yes, still some of the art forms, they do use Vachika Abhinaya. Even in Bharatanatyam, we had, but maybe we have lost it now. And Satvika Abhinaya, that is the inner emotional state. Unless I am happy communicating a happy subject to you, crying inside that my leg is paining as I'm dancing, you will not have that joy. Even if I have to, communicate about the types of abhinayas, if I blindly say Ankika, Vachika, Aharya, Satvika, Ankika is through the bodily emotion, Satvika is the emotional mind, you will be like, why? It will be like reading from somewhere. So all four has have equal importance, and Satvika is the topmost. Even sitting, I can emote something if the Satvika is proper in my body, in my mind. And then there are two-fold theatrical presentation, which is Lokadharmi and Natyadharmi. Lokadharmi is the naturalistic style rooted in the real world behavior. Like how you walk inside your home or walk on the road, that is Lokadharmi. Now, Natyadharmi, on the other hand, we call it Taluk Nade. So we just give a dip and stand, dip and stand. If you walk like that on roads, people will think you're mad. So exaggerations is required, of course, for stage. So this is how he clearly explains the Lokadharmi and Natyadharmi. And there are, again, instruments of expressions. Your Abhinaya is there. There are how codified Natyadharmi is also there. As I said, Krishna ni begane baro, I cannot say Krishna ni begane baro, I cannot do. This a non-dancer can do. You need not need a stage and a dancer. You pay, go see, watch and come. You need not be. But when I say Krishna ni begane baro, then that is exaggerated. That baro is actually not required when you talk to a guy who is right in front of you, right? And again, you have two types of abhinaya, like yatartha abhinaya and padartha abhinaya. What I just now did was padartha. Pratipada, you say Krishna, anybody can understand. Ni is like you. Vegane is like very quick. Baro, you come. The Yathartha Abhinaya will be like, I have, pot full of butter. You want it? If you want it, come. You quickly come, I'll give it to you. So that becomes Yathartha Abhinaya. Like you communicate that, but not word by word, but you create your own story for that particular line and then you communicate. And we have Samyuta Hasta, single hand gestures, double hand gestures, which is practiced these days. But the Nrita Hastas, again, all the body conditioning elements, Anga Upanga Pratyanga, the Nrita Hastas, the Bahu Karma, and the Charis, Akashachari, Bhuchari, where Utluti is used, Karana and Angahara, these are all codified by my guru, Dr. Padma Subramaniam, reading the Natya Shastra text, connecting it with the sculptures. She codified it, she revived it in a way, and we have been performing. So we always call it Bharata Nrityam as we add the aspects of Nritya largely. So these were all done in our Nartana Adhyaya. So I hope I did a bit of justice to whatever Haripriya Bhagini has taught, and thank you so much.
Very nice, Bhagini. Jaykumar Mahodaya.
So today, what happened? I ended up writing a lot of notes. It was a good overview for me who knows no music. Okay, so I wrote some notes, believe it or not, and so when I recognize a few things that you all said, like Tattvamasi, Chandogya Upanishad, Samaveda, those words I recognize. Okay, I'm not into music, even though this is somewhat even I can't believe. When I was studying, doing my graduate work, PhD, uh, I I was selected as the president of the India Students Association at Purdue. The university is in the US, Purdue University, and this was 1990. And then I was doing a lot of things, a lot of ideas came, and then I, I started an organization called Indian Classic Music Association of Purdue. Because such a thing did not exist, I felt we need to have a separate organization. India Student Association has been organizing some concerts, but there are people out there who are very good in music. You just take over, guys, and you start your own organization. You do your own thing. And the first concert was I invited Ravi Kiran. That 1990, Ravi Kiran ji must have been, I don't know whatever, 18, 19, 20 maybe, 20 years old, I think is my guess. And so that's what an audacity, right? Because I could hardly recognize three, four ragas, and then here I'm doing this. So like that, these some of these words you mentioned, Tatsumasi and all, and that is even more relevant because we are studying Hemavati ji is in our classes. In Vivek Chudamani, he is explaining this Tattvamasi, and he's saying, hey, Tat is Ishvara, Tvam is Jiva. How can Tattvam Asi be possible? Not possible. Ishvara is equal to Jiva is not possible. Why it is not possible? Because Tat, it is like equating mountain, Tat, and Jiva, Tvam, which is like Paramanu. So he said it is like equating Paramanu Mervoho Tulyam, like that he says. So when I was listening to all of you, you're all experts in music after years and years of studying music and dance from stalwarts. Okay, stalwarts. Now you're studying this text. So you people are the mountains, and I felt I am the Paramanu. And nothing wrong. That's how we all learn. And so I'm happy to be a Paramanu here in front of all of you. Okay, and so that's what comes to my mind. And but still, I think I'm so happy for the simple reason that all of you accomplished musicians, accomplished artists, are studying the text which originated this art forms, music, dance, etc. You went back to figure out where did all this came from, and then Sharangadeva himself says it all came from Samaveda. He is pushing you even further. He is challenging you even more after all this. And it turns out that Tattvamasi is actually in Samaveda. I don't know how many of you know this, but Tattvamasi is a Mahavakyam. It comes in an Upanishad called Chandogya Upanishad, and the Chandogya Upanishad is in the Samaveda. Okay, that connection is there. Anyway, I see my exposure to music was my father was a good. He's not doesn't sing, but Kevi Jnana, and so he used to recognize ragas left and right. And when he was doing all that, I was not paying attention. But I went abroad. My classmate, my roommate, where I was staying, he was into music. So he was listening to all this music and GNB and then singing Maru Gelara and all that. I used to listen. I said, as he was listening, I was also forced to listen. And but I enjoyed that very much. Today, I sometimes feel, I should have spent more time, in Karnataka Sangeetam. And how much Karnataka Sangeetam I know, Hemavati ji knows very well. Because I made the mistake of sometimes singing in my Vedanta class. And I later on I realized it's a mistake. But what to do? It comes out, when it comes out, you can't stop. So Hemavati ji must be thinking, oh my God, like that. So, but I'm so happy that you all decided to pursue this Asha Seva Kendram. One of the things here that we want is for us to go back to the roots, and you are going back to the roots. Your source was music, Karnataka Sangeetam. So your journey took you there, and then you loved it and you pursued it. And whether you gave concerts in the public or not is not that material. But the point is, you understood the whole thing. You mapped it all out and you said, no, this is not enough. I want to study something else. And there comes Haripriya. Somebody said this is a big project, right? Rukmini ji, I think, said this is a big project, correct? Taken up by Haripriya ji, correct? That is correct. That is exactly correct. Big project. Because to take all this seminal text, to teach it, to have the patience to sit and teach it, and do some justice to it, and to have an audience that will appreciate it. Okay, not coming for 1 2 classes and say, okay, I don't have time for it. Not that, but she had an audience, I could see all of you are there who spent all the time listening to her. Obviously, we have to listen to this 2 or 3 times before we internalize all these things and it becomes a part of us. That's for sure. It's true with any subject. Any subject. Advaita Vedanta, which I love, is also like that. And so it looks like, I think it looks like what Natya Shastra is to Natyam or Bharatanatyam. This Sangeetha Ratnakara is to Sangeetam. I think that is the correction, right? And so when Haripriya ji said she wanted to teach it, I was happy. I was happy because we want to introduce this to folks who've been wanting it. And somebody else said it's another God-given opportunity because sitting at home you could study it. That's one of the greatest things of this Zoom technology. And sitting at home, you can 1 hour a week, 2 hours a week, 3 hours a week. Just sit at home, no travel and all these things. And I love this. And so I mean I know that Haripriya ji has an MA in Alankara Shastra. But I thought Alankara Shastram in poetry and some, the literary aesthetics and so forth. Of course, music has a lot of Alankara Shastram, but she is a musician by her own right. Without an MA in Alankara Shastram, she is a musician. And so I think she must be a very powerful combination, I feel. I mean, I need to hear her talk about all these things. I'm just imagining these things based on what little I know. Okay, if I'm wrong, please correct me. And so I can see that combination coming out. I mean, she knows a lot. She knows this poetry Paddhati in Panini and all. She studied, and so she's a solid background. Sanskritam background is there. This Sangeetha Ratnakara is written in Sanskrit. So we are happy that you are taught by somebody who knows Sanskrit thoroughly, not reading a translation and then teaching it. Nothing wrong with that. At least you got taught, but here you got it from the original source. And she will know when if she doesn't understand some shloka, she can tell you, no, this is we need to look into this, so that you know, okay, that's an area that we need to investigate further. And so that any other teacher who's studied translations cannot say, because now she is able to read, go into the mind of Sharangadeva. Okay, so that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Um, and but I also, by the way, thanks to Shatadani Ganesh through Sumitraji. Okay, because he advised you to give a good examples like food and all that, which I can relate to. So I want to thank him through you. Uh, so yesterday, I mean, my father is good at music, so he will just look at it. I asked him, what is the raga? Yesterday he was saying Karanga, and then we were talking a little bit about it. And so I can recognize some basic ragas, Indolam and this and that, Bhupalam and so forth. But otherwise, after that, I didn't. I used to know even more, I think, but somehow I'm losing it because the Advaita Vedanta makes you lose some knowledge also. I think so. Any subject which if you get deep into the subject, all these ancillary things will all go away. Do you know that? They say if you don't use it, you lose it. They have this kind of a truism also. So like that, I've lost some of that Sangeeta Jnana. But still, I'm so happy that I could be with you here today. And this one, Padma Balasubramanian ji came to when I was studying my college at IIT Chennai. She came one day, one evening. She gave a talk, demonstration. What is Bharatanatyam? I still remember, not everything, but I still remember that day, that event, that evening when she was there at the Central Lecture Theatre. It was called those days. And Krishnani Begane, she said it in 5, 6, 7, 8 different ways. Correct? Am I right? So how different ways to do it. And I was just mesmerized by that whole show. And so I mean, we respect all artists, obviously. And so Padma Subramanian ji has a special place in my heart. Uh, so, and Tevaram, somebody mentioned Tevaram. Okay, I think either Radhaji or
Jana.
Janaki ji. Huh?
Janaki.
Bhagini. Janaki
Janaki ji
Bhagini
mentioned.
talked about that.
Janaki.
Must have mentioned. So the Tewar. So as I was studying Vedanta and teaching it, then I got introduced to Tewar. Means I knew a little bit, but what is Tevaram? What is being done with it, etc. I mean, Swamiji had recognized that the singing of Tevaram in Shiva temples has been diminishing, and almost becoming extinct. So he decided to revive it. So he conducted many programs and he gave subsistence allowance to the singers of Tevaram. And now we, Srinivasanji, our trustee, is heading that program. The Srinivasanji was assigned the task of taking this forward. So just last year, earlier this year, January, I think, we recognized Sri Sadgurunathan Oduwar of Mylapore. I think Kapalishwar Kovil is where he's in charge of. And we gave him an award, Asha Seva Chudamani Award. Every year we give an award to somebody who has contributed significantly to our dharma, our culture. And so uh, uh, that I thought was worthy to mention. But thanks to all of you once again, and all of you already mentioned the path to moksha. Path to moksha. Sangeeta is a path to moksha. Which is interesting, no? Because you got lost in Sangeetam. Lost in Sangeetam. Suddenly says, hey, is it a means or an end? So is Sangeetam a means or an end? What do you mean? Is Sangeetam is a means to something else or is it an end in itself? Then already you answered the question. It is a means, it's not an end in itself. Nothing is an end in itself. And so it has to all lead to something else. And so the Chandogya Upanishad, our Shvetaketu, Uddalaka is teaching Shvetaketu, that whole thing. And he says, Yeshonima aitadapyamidagam sarvam tat satyam sa atma tat samasi Shvetaketo iti. And like any student, he did not understand it. So he says, Bhuya eva ma bhagavan vijñapayatu. Please, hey Bhagavan, please teach me again. Like that he says, like all of us do. And so then Tathasomya, father said, okay, I'll do it. Because all these Vedanta teachers have to be very patient. And, and so he also is a very patient teacher. And Haripriya ji is even more patient, ultra patient. That is the only word I can give. Of course, scholarly, of course, knowledgeable completely, and no shortcuts, nothing. And patiently takes you through. Those who want to listen, welcome to listen and benefit from that erudition, from that practice, also not simply theory, but practice. No, this is lived dharma. This is called lived dharma. So I want to stop that with that appreciation for Haripriya ji. And of course, to all of you who have gone through this and made this a reality, you all have validated the idea that we should continue to teach all these things. If somebody is willing to teach Nati Shastra like this, if Sumitra ji wants to teach, please go ahead.
Definitely, yes.
We don't conduct entrance exams for teachers. We don't do that. I decided this university is going to be entirely different. Okay, people who love to do things, they want to come. Let's do it, and let's see what happens. And so I'm very happy, and I pray that such programs continue. And I thank all of you for being here today, and the best wishes to all of you. Hari Om.
Dhanyavadah, Mahodaya. We are all blessed to have a guide like you to do our experiments in our own way. And I thank all these people for being with me for so many months. So it is not that I have done something on my own. Without them, I couldn't have continued. And so for some of the chapters, there was so much of difficulty in making it easy for them. Some of the chapters I had to pass it on like that. But some of the chapters I too enjoyed, and they enjoyed very well that time. And for Vadyadhyaya and Nartanadhyaya, I approached some performing artists actually. They said for Vadyadhyaya, those people said we know only what is performed on the stage. We don't know all these theories and we can't do it. And
We
then
can't do it means we can't do what?
they don't know this theory.
They can't
So
come and teach that text, that particular chapter of that
yes,
text. They can't teach.
yes. So
Yeah.
they are performers on the stage, very popular, but unable to explain these things theoretically. And for dance, Nartanadhyaya also, I asked a couple of people. They said we have no time, or some such reasons they had. They also have not studied this grantha at all. So
So
actually, when
can we
initially,
say that?
huh?
Go ahead. Go ahead. No, Nartanadhyaya, you said they are not studied. So if we look around, will we find dancers who have studied these texts and also danced? Is it possible to find such people?
I would like to say something here. In our dance school, both theory and practicals go hand in hand. Not even a day has gone without talking about Natya Shastra. In fact, we by heart we know all the shlokas of Anga Upanga, Chari, Nrita Hastas, or whatever. Recently, we also did Abhinava Bharati, which is the commentary of Natya Shastra. So we just finished that. So our structure will be like do Natya Shastra, read the commentary, and then take up like kavyas like Kumara Sambhavam or whatever comes, and try to map the abhinaya or the sthayi bhava in a shloka or in a chapter, how it is done, and find the patra pravesha inside that particular adhyaya, and which type of rupaka is it. If you take dasha rupakas, you have got 10 types of natakas itself, each one having different plot, different number of characters, vastu will be different. So we have to find all those, and that is how we are getting trained. I'm learning under Arjun Bharadwaji, student of Dr. Shatavadani Ganesh. He also trains us in the same way.
Very
Anyhow,
good. Very
for
good.
the first part also, that is the Swaragata and Raga Viveka also, I approached some scholars for guidance, but they said they have no time or some such reasons they gave. Then I was wondering what to do, whether to start the classes or not. So my husband said, I'll prepare the slides for you, you start teaching. Don't worry about all these people. They are there, they have made their names, they have no time, it's okay. So initially he made the slides, and later on he also got busy with net zero projects in Andhra Pradesh. So and finally it was on my own. Whatever came to my mind I have done. Whether it is of benefit to these people, I don't know. That's all. Hmm. Thank you very
Very
much
good. Now
to
we should
everybody.
thank your husband. We should
I
thank your
would
husband
like to
also.
say something, if I may. I Haripriya ji really, she undersells herself, she did such a phenomenal job. This is theory is always a dry subject. We know now when Radha sang and when Sumitra danced, we stand there, we all know those things in theory, but to see somebody actually doing it, it's very different. And the classes were so enjoyable. I mean, it was. We had such a wonderful time discussing various things. We talked about songs. We talked about Thirupugar, so many things. It was like, and it's she did this uh, obviously with minimal help and with under very difficult family circumstances. She became a grandmother. She had to take care of her parents, and between all of this, she was so dedicated. She inspired the same dedication in everybody, but specifically in me. I'm, as I'm getting older, I can't do a lot of things. But I said, no, Haripriya is doing this. We should put in the effort because she has put in so much effort. There are just no words to describe my gratitude to her. I thank you so much.
I would add also, I am just moved by the dedication and the scholarship and the depth Srimati Haripriya has shown in the classes, and all the things described there, or they are what is a marga for us now, most of the things, because it's 13th century and here we are 21st century. Therefore, and then in the class discussion later, thinking about it, we are trying to map and see contemporary things and what was there 100 years ago, even, so, and then, so it is evolving, and we are seeing remnants of it, like the background radiation from the Big Bang, microwave background radiation, or there is a gravitational wave, background hum. It is called background hum, published, gravitational wave, but many radio telescope have found, published in early 2023, background hum. And I'm thinking, maybe that is Anahata Nadam. So your brain keeps working even after class hours, even if you are not preparing, you won't believe. I have 30 pages of handwritten notes for 8 hours of lecture. She condensed it from the original to 8 lectures, the first adhyayam, and then watching it to the limited brain capacity to understand my 30 pages, and my brain is running faster than my mouth, and I'm just spit out some things here in the whatever time I spoke. But my gratitude is boundless. I'm so glad for this opportunity to sit here in the comfort of my home and learn, interact with the Srimati Haripriya and my fellow classmates. Two of them are my sisters, and with Sumitra and also Radha Venkat. It's really, it was such a delight. I'm grateful. It's beyond words. Thank you. Thank you, and thank to Asha Seva Kendram. Otherwise, we wouldn't have this. Thank you. So I'm immensely grateful. Thank you.
Thank you so
ధన్యవాదాలు
much.
మాధుర్య.
And we really enjoyed the songs that you would sing in the middle and show us. The Dikshitar Kritis and that Meera Bhajan still ringing in my ears. So it was not just a theory class, but full of practical demonstrations too. So it was
And
wonderful.
Radha
Yes.
Bhagini giving her Veena this thing in between, and singing bits and pieces. Just that one hum, this thing of the Lalgudi, that itself is enough for one class. She just ஒரு கோடி காமிக்கிறதும்பா, ஒரு கோடு போகுது, அவ்வளவுதான், அது போறோம். And we were such great Lalgudi fans. He started recognizing me because every kachari I'll go. Then he started nodding his head. As எனக்கு பர்சனலா தெரியவே தெரியாது அவரை. ஆனா எங்க போனாலும் என்னை பார்த்து சிரிச்சு இப்படி தலையாட்டுவார். அப்ப இந்த ஜமக்காலத்துல முதல்ல உட்காந்துருப்பேன். அந்த ஜமக்காலம் அடிக்கிற வரைக்கும் அப்படியே உட்காந்துரும். முதல்ல கண்ணை கூட மூட மாட்டேன், வாயை மூட மாட்டேன். அப்படி உட்காந்து, that is how I enjoyed Lalgudi's kacheri when I was young. So all that, bits and pieces over the years we have accumulated, and இதெல்லாம் என்னமோ செரண்டிபிட்டின்னு சொல்லுவா ஒரு இங்கிலீஷ்ல ஒரு வார்த்தை. எப்படி how I came to Jayakumarji, I don't not know, and how I got into this. Something, I know, I came to Jayakumarji when I was in my lowest ebb in my life. So at the time, எனக்கு அது பெரிய ஒரு ஆசீர்வாதம். அவர்கிட்ட சம்ஸ்கிருதம் படிக்கிறதோ, அந்த வேதாந்தா கிளாஸ்க்குள்ள போனதோ. But for that, I would have broken down long back. And I managed all these 6 years. I somehow managed. Thank you so much. And Haripriyaji was my guru in my Kovida class also. அப்போலேருந்தே எனக்கு I was very attached to her. Because குருனாலும் நமக்கு ஒரு தனி அட்டாச்மெண்ட். எங்களுக்கு கிளாஸஸ் கிராமர்லாம் சொல்லி கொடுக்கறது, I used to be so fond of her classes, So I jumped at the opportunity. I told my sisters, see, this is happening, so let us all join the class. So all the three of us joined in this class.
It was God's will that we complete these
Yes.
chapters, no? So many had
Yes.
joined in the beginning, but
Yes.
we were fortunate enough to travel along with her and
Amma.
see at least a little, take a look at it. It's an ocean, so we can't just
So
have
initially,
everything, but at
before
least
the time
an
changed
insight.
here, it was 4:30 a.m. for us here in California, but we used to get up. Another morning class, we used to get up, and once in March the time changed, but before that it was 4:30 a.m. But I used to get up at 3:45, drink my coffee because I need all that petrol and everything to come and sit in the class for 1 hour. But never once I missed my class. Never once I missed my class. I'm happy for that.
Okay, so shall we wind up with the Shanti Mantram? Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayaah, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, Harihi Om.
धन्यवादः भगिनी.
धन्यवादः
धन्यवादः भगिनी, धन्यवादः.